Hi guys, I am back with part 2 video of talking about all things I feel you linger in the air. Disclaimer, there is so many characters I want to deep dive into that would probably cause this video to be way too long, so I'm only picking and choosing a couple. I saw this comment and it kind of inspired me to come back. I love your analysis in the drama show. This ensemble cast is very convincing and their characters are well developed. The show on the whole feels poetic and nostalgic. Here are the cons. The pace of the story is slightly too slow sometimes, and also the ending is a bit confusing. I wish someone would make a video about it. Your wish is my command. Okay, here's where I will start. I don't mind the slowness of I Feel You Linger in the Air, and I feel like the ending is just the ending. It's a time travel show and it's really hard to wrap that up. Again, I haven't read the source material, but I don't really have an issue with that. I haven't seen the special episode, so if you have seen it and you have more information, this is after watching just the 12 episodes because it's not out for international audiences. Yai is a dreamer, an intellectual, a gender-expansive man. He wants to build a better world, rebel, not work within existing systems. But that's me too. I was curious to know who were the philosophers that were alive during this time in France, because he's obsessed with studying in France. Jean-Paul Sartre, who talked a lot about Marxism and existentialism, André Breton, the movement's artist, and he really was like talking about unconventional and uncanny and beauty in that. Think like Salvador Dali. Simone de Beauvoir, she was a philosopher and a feminist. She was also in I don't think she was married, but she was in partnership with Sartre. She also wrote Le Deuxième Sexe, which was challenging women's treatment in society and in partnership with Sartre. Not the book, but she was in relationship with him and really challenging the expectations set by society for women and men's partnership, because they did reject marriage and they were just kind of in an open relationship, but they were an open partnership. They were kind of rejecting what the French bourgeois offered. So it makes sense. It tells us that this man was very interested in challenging the status quo and what is acceptable in current society. But at the same time, Yai is also living someone else's dream. His dad wants him to serve on the government and work within this wealthy ruling family. And this actually reminds me of Young Royals, which I've just finished the last season, as Willem is confronted with the same sort of forced expectation to do something his family set up for him. His family is like, this is your lineage, you gotta do this. And the rest of the show is him claiming his autonomy, and further is radicalized by Simon, by the person who he fell for. In this case, I feel like Jom and Simon kind of have some parallels. So Yai attends an alternate space within that bar, a space that's against all conventional wisdom, gender, sexuality, art, everything that this society doesn't find useful. One of my favorite things about Yai is that he's actually continually breaking gender norms for especially someone of his time, also as someone who is masculine presenting, traditionally masculine presenting. Olive oil on the skin, making flower garlands, care and tenderness to Jom and his other beloveds, spending time reading romantic literature and writing poems. Sensuality is a very important element of his characterization. He even gets confused by Jom asking him why he does these things, and he says is that bad? Genuinely confused by the implication of Jom's question. In a way, Jom is a catalyst for Yai's rebellion and reflections, or further reflections, in a lot of ways, but he did set foundation for that radicalization to take place, and that's just such beautiful characterization. Incredibly aspirational until his boyfriend leave him after 2 years of waiting for him in Thailand, while his boyfriend was in London, and he found another woman that he fell in love with. And it's in 3 minutes I'm already invested. It was already shipping them, and then my heart was shattered. He wanted to build a life with someone he loved, someone he chose, but most importantly someone who chooses him. Jom, after the breakup and the reveal that by his boyfriend, becomes quite jaded and almost numb to the world, to the point where he drives his car into the sea as the ultimate fuck this, I give up. After Jom is quite literally pulled out into a different time, Jom's jadedness doesn't really go away. We can even make assumptions that 1927 and the house is a year that Jom chose to be entrenched into to forget what just happened. He is grasping for anything that will make him feel alive or seen or affirmed. Khun Yai's gentle, I think it was episode 2. If remembering makes you sad, just forget about it. Start again, relax your heart. It's almost a reaffirmation of Jom's mind to tell him to start again. It's a catalyst of changing his expectation and blueprint of his life that he's designed with his previous boyfriend. He's incredibly complex, I think. He's able to be versatile as an individual and still express himself through the arts, but also through his care and tenderness to this newfound community. I truly think he serves as a catalyst for Yai's radicalization or further radicalization and change his worldview, at least by a lot. And by the end, he also feels satisfied by this choice and by this completely different life that was given to him as a second chance. Typically in a lot of BL storytelling and in a lot of Western queer stories, where the female characters are not really the focal point, the women are seen as a barrier, as an annoyance, a cheerleader, something to overcome so that you can be happy and you can get that happy ending that is deserved. I Feel You Linger in the Air actually takes us further from the cheerleading and the non-threatening women characters to women that carve out their own path, their own resolution without needing the man's permission. There's not just an undertone of feminist thoughts, resilience in I Feel You Linger in the Air, but rather a loud portrayal of their resilience, desire to want and need and choose and agency and get shit done, and at their own time, which is very important even when extreme violence is involved. Khun Peng, Yai's sister, is someone who's experiencing extreme violence by the hands of her husband, Robert. Even then, she decided at her time to start to find a way out without disrupting the status of everything in place, which is not necessarily the right thing to do, but it's her choice to assess the risks that come with resisting and confessing and everything that keeps her safe. Safety is not a one-size-fits-all, and I Feel You Linger in the Air does a really good job of extending that. The misogyny and the necessity of ceremonial partnerships like marriage are status symbols as well as materially like economic necessities in the 1920s and even today in some places. As a result, Khun Peng shields her sexuality and what she wants to do for maintaining the fiber of this family that continues to invisibilize her. The depth of the relationship between Khun Peng and Fong Khew is something that I feel like something that is unfamiliar in a lot of BLs. They're supposed to be ominous with each other. They were, at the beginning, of course, it was rocky and messed up. At times they were enemies, but they eventually come into terms with what they are, which are victims of their circumstances. Their relationship shifting from dislike to fear to what the other is capable of. The start of their relationship was again a way to lessen the violence and abuse that Khun Peng was confronted with on a daily basis and shift that to the other wife, which is Fong Khew. It becomes about vulnerability and tenderness and solidarity and friendship and womanhood. In my opinion, that's a huge deal. I love that they took the time to deepen their relationship and took the time within the storytelling. Reuniting Maey and Khun Peng is a big step in their relationship. In addition to being something that is kind and great to do, Fong Khew is capable of, it also shows that Fong Khew deeply understands the desire of the other. Khun Peng choosing to terminate her pregnancy in order to basically mark the choice to no longer let Robert continue to control her and cause violence in so many different ways was one of the most bravest and powerful moments within the show for me. She thought hard and long with the two women that know exactly what she feels. She made the decision at the end to end her own suffering. It was so brave and I'm sure very hard to do. Another female character that I find amazing is Maey. She's an incredibly versatile character with a lot of resilience. Unless you pay attention to a lot of her reaction shots and her scenes, it's easy to dismiss her as like a dull character who just happens to be in a relationship with the lady of the house secretly. Her positionality as the help and the sexuality that she holds, and that's definitely not accepted, and being in a deep loving relationship secretly with a complex power dynamic make her a target to anybody in the household and in the town. And that's why I love this show, because you don't have to love every choice the characters make, but the characters are so well fleshed out that you feel like these are characters that are incredibly grounded in reality. Another character I cherished, even though I didn't love every choice she made, is the mother of the house. The mother who has been in the sidelines supporting the guidance under the father, and sometimes even allowing the violence on their children to continue after Robert and his shenanigans are revealed. Shenanigans is putting it really mildly. He breaks down and is unable to continue on performing his duties as a patriarch of the family. Instead of comforting him, she doubles down and says, "You should feel bad." I love this scene because she takes accountability for being a passive wife, for being on the sidelines, for letting him go for this long, still suffering with her children on the sidelines. I think this is almost a reinforcement, an affirmation of what has happened, what she has taken for over 20 years. And for her to decide at this moment to step into her power, her leadership is so powerful and so interesting, as he is admitting to his weakness, to not being able to be the patriarch that he has claimed to be for so far. And the whiskey drinking scene after stating that was so powerful. It was like her claiming her throne from the father, who's unable to continue to lead as before. She's reinforcing her position as the matriarch, again showing resilience and the choice of stepping in and stepping back as she needs to. That's a huge shift from how BLs have thus far been written and characters are fleshed out. Usually they are something reactionary rather than active participants in whatever is happening. She said, "I'm going to decide on things on my own." It wasn't a permission, it was information that she was sharing with her husband. Like, step back, I got it. Finally, also giving permission to Khun Yai to go ahead and study abroad. In other words, she's taking care of business and giving her children the autonomy that they have lost for a long time. Okay, I think that's all. I can go into so many more characters that are fleshed out so beautifully on this show, and it would probably be another 2 hours, and I don't want to do that to y'all. However, I do want to say one of my favorite things about the show is that it doesn't create purity-based storytelling, as it doesn't try to put characters on a pedestal. It actually confronts characters' biases and choices and what they have to do in order to exist in a society that creates barriers after barriers to authentically exist and pursue happiness and liberation. It grapples with heavy concepts of class, queerness, identity politics, oppression, manifesting in so many ways, and an agency without shielding the audience from the hard stuff. It's not spoon feeding us, we're supposed to read and see in between the lines. And that's just wonderful. More, please.